what's going to have to happen in the future is that we're going to need to democratize not just the government and voting rights and civil rights. We're going to have to democratize the business sector, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, these giant media platforms. They're going to have to become more democratized because fundamentally it's not right or fair that somebody like a Bill Gates gets to control all the operating systems on the planet, or most of them. Or that someone like Jeff Bezos gets to control and make decisions about every single purchase that's made online, or most of them. Or that somebody like Mark Zuckerberg gets to control and decide how people can connect with friends through the internet. Right? This is fundamentally undemocratic for one person to have that much control and that much power. The only reason they have it is because these are new frontiers of technology that have been developed recently, and they have not yet been regulated because we haven't figured out how to best regulate them. There's a lot of criticism of people like Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey from Twitter and so forth because they're not regulating their platforms the way that people want them to regulate it. But this problem of regulating and policing platforms is an extremely challenging problem. I don't envy Zuckerberg or Dorsey or other people like this. They have an enormous responsibility. And one of their problems is that these people, they're from Stage Orange mostly, so they came into this endeavor with Twitter and Facebook and so forth and Google, and Amazon. They just came into it saying like, well, I'm going to start a website. It's going to become popular, and I'm just going to earn a bunch of money from it. That sounds like a good idea. And then they did it, and they succeeded. Great. But what they didn't realize is that you didn't just start some website that's earning you a lot of money. You created, the reason your website earns you so much money is that because you created a platform which is integral to the functioning of the entire society. Whether it's Google, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter. The only reason these companies earn as much money as they do, Apple as well, with their iTunes and App Store especially. The reason that these companies earn so many billions so effortlessly every single quarter is because they're so deeply intertwined with the culture and the fabric of society. But it's precisely for that reason that they can't be ruled by one single individual or even a small corporate board, because that's fundamentally authoritarian. And so in the future, we're going to see the democratization of these giant companies in all these various sectors, because people will get more and more frustrated by it. Because these companies are sucking up more and more resources, increasing the economic inequality in the country, and getting too much power for their own good. See, the problem is that you get so much power, it goes full circle, it starts to corrupt you. These companies like Facebook and Google and Apple and Microsoft, they think that they need more money and more success and more power, but actually what happens is that after a certain point, it starts to backfire on them. They're seeing that now. And what I predict will happen in the future is that these handful of companies in particular, which are so integral to the functioning of society and the world, not just America, but the entire world, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and a few others that I'm not mentioning, these companies are going to be the source of a lot of tension going forward in the future because they've monopolized. Together, these companies have basically monopolized probably half of the world economy is owned by these 6 companies or so. And it's only going to get worse. And right now, all these companies are still new. That means they still have some sense of the original founder's vision. You see, these companies, usually the way that the company goes through a life cycle, the company is usually founded, a successful company is usually founded by some visionary leader. This visionary leader is usually pretty good, pretty benevolent, pretty caring and passionate about the field he's in, which is why he's able to create this company. sometimes people like to criticize people like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos. But if you think that's bad, imagine what happens when the life cycle of the company, because right now we're still in this phase of the life cycle of the company, still the beginning chapters. What happens in 50 or 100 years when all of these founders die from old age? And they get replaced by tools and corporate shills and committees and Wall Street types who only care about money. Now you might say, oh, yeah, but that's already the case. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and all these people, all they care about is just money. No, that's not right. The original founders of a company, they didn't found the company just for money, even though that's a popular stereotype. They actually founded it because they were passionate about something. The pure money types, the Wall Street wolves, those types, those are who come at the end of the life cycle of the company. Once all the ideas have been exhausted, all the creativity of the company has been exhausted, that's when the wolves come and they try to squeeze every penny out of the company. And they bankrupt the company morally. And then usually that moral bankruptcy leads to a financial bankruptcy in the end. And then they're going to pull out all the money before it goes bankrupt. You see, they suck it dry. These Wall Street wolves. Because these are not true visionaries. These are not the founders. So what happens when half of the world's economic power, and therefore also political power as well, is put in the hands of these Wall Street wolves who are just going to be thinking about how can I extract as much money for myself and my family as possible and my partners as possible from this company like Google, like Facebook, like Amazon, like Microsoft. What happens then? That's what I foresee as being a huge, huge looming problem in the future that nobody is yet talking about. People do not appreciate how much power a company like Google has, or Amazon has, or Facebook, or Apple has. It has way more power than we currently appreciate because we have not really seen any of these companies yet. As much as you might hate these companies or think that they are undermining democracy, you haven't even seen the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg of how much damage these companies can do if they really stopped caring and if they really were controlled by people who just didn't give a shit and were willing to do any kind of damage for money. Yeah. But at the same time, even though that makes it sound very negative and pessimistic, here's the silver lining. The silver lining, and here's a thing that nobody will really tell you in the news or on YouTube in any political analysis, because they don't understand this. It takes a deep understanding of human consciousness and collective consciousness to understand this. Corporations are also evolving. Corporations are not a static thing. How many times have you heard that, oh, corporations, they only care about money? That's actually not true. It might seem on the surface that corporations only care about money. That's only because right now, predominantly most of our corporations in the 21st century are at spiral dynamic stage orange. But as the people in the organization evolve, as the leaders who run the organization evolve up the spiral, so will the corporations. Because highly advanced, loving, conscious, developed, moral leaders are not going to lead organizations that are unconscious, fearful, selfish, depraved, immoral, and so forth. It's not going to happen.